Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Sangat Ji, welcome back after the short break. If you have just joined us, just really want to quickly let you know who we have with us here in the studio. We have Sukhi Wahiwala, who is an established serial entrepreneur, business growth mentor, a professional speaker, co-founder of SikhEntrepreneur.com and Sikh role model. The first half an hour, if you have missed it, we should be able to hopefully get you the clip in the future onto YouTube and post that up so you will be able to watch it. But this second half an hour is going to be even more interesting because you have so many more questions that we're going to be asking Paji. So Sukhi Ji, that, I just can't believe the time, how quick it's gone. And I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking I've learnt so much and we've got another half an hour to go. So I guess really, just quickly touching on that, the discovery program, how, in terms of, you mentioned feedback. For our Sangat Chari and they're thinking, what, maybe we might need to get in touch, or this is something we could do. What would you like to say to them? Just a few words of why it's so important to do something like this for yourself.
The discovery program is when an individual truly learns themselves, and I've shared this before the break, that there's three ways. I learn myself, I learn to read others, and then I learn to adapt to them in communication. So what's the benefit of this? Let's just put it in a scenario of a family. So if you've got a father-son, father-daughter, mother-daughter, mother-son, so a child-parent problem, like communication challenge error, it can be resolved. And it can be resolved through very simple understanding of themselves, and thus then finding the other profiles in the other person to identify their child's profile. And to adapt the child, because the times have moved on. It's no longer you do it this way because I've said it.
Right.
It's now about inspiration. It's about inspiring your child to be the best they can be. And I'm not suggesting that we go around in the world and turn around and just tell a child you can do anything you want in the world, because that's not how the real world works. It's a false hope. You don't want them to be, you want your child to be secure, but you also want them to be aware that a challenge isn't the end of the world, or they shouldn't look for just instant gratification after everything they've done or not done. So the Discovery Foundation actually helps you to rebreed and rekindle your relationship with your own children to a really beautiful way. Honestly, it becomes meaningful. And you understand your children better.
Yeah, and that makes total sense. It's brilliant because that really then leads on to the next thing I'd like to ask. For example, we have, and I'm saying this about myself, we have this fear in us. We do. We always think, well, can't really do that. We have the fear. It's just the fear, and that fear is obviously negativity. My question then is, how do we eliminate the fear?
How to eliminate fear? Yeah. This is a lifelong conversation, in the sense of so many people, even myself included, will give you an answer which is relevant to myself, and I'll do my most best to share it with other people. But fear is a personal journey. So the question asks yourself, it's a deep question of asking, what exactly is fear? I have been lucky to have amazing mentors around me, my parents. And I had this discussion once with my father, and I said, so, Papa, what exactly is fear? I feel fear, what is it about? And they said, well, by the way, for the people who are watching this who know my father, will know he's a very man of few words, but he'll be very poignant and to the point. And his words were, well, fear, and obviously said in Punjabi, but fear as a whole is nothing but your ability to hold yourself on track and to show that you care. And I thought, how do we translate that into something that's going to be valuable for me to take on and understand fear? Well, fear, in my opinion, is nothing but you visualizing the future going wrong. Or alternatively, it could also be the future going right, but you realizing how impactful your future can be, or how you can have an impact on the future of other people even. So, in my opinion, there's plenty of books out there reading Feel the Fear, and Do It Anyway. I've always moved myself forward.
Right.
I've always moved myself forward from fear, because fear, it's a moment, it's a second. I think a good friend of mine, Jatinder, a brother of mine actually, mentioned that the past is a memory, the future is a visual or a vision of some kind. The only time is now, is present, is now, even that's in the past.
That's true.
So all you've got to be is in that current moment of understanding that if I step up now, move through this fear, it's going to change the outcome. So I would say to everybody who's ever facing the fear of not being able to start something, not being able to move themselves forward, maybe not even having a good relationship because of fear of themselves, not opening up, starting a business, not starting the business thinking I've got to jump from a commercial, secure business, a secure life, to a business where there's a little bit of a rocky road, I'm suggesting that you just do it. You have a plan around it. You must plan. That's the key. Yeah. But I suggest do it. Once you start, results follow. Himmate marda, himmate khuda. That means God will only help you as you've helped yourself. So you can't sit back and put your feet up and say, the life's going to be fine, I'll get whatever I'm going to get, which was a silly question I asked my father when I was 16, by the way. But no, it was much more to the point that when Dad said, no, it'll come your way, but you have to have a mix of two things. Karam. Karam is what I do. You have to do things in order to receive what's in your kismet.
True, or a bit like myself, that sits down, basically has the jar, the cup, puts their feet up and says, look. It's definitely not going to move forward. But then I guess I'd like to know, the business that you do, there must be some challenges maybe you may have faced. If you could talk to us about any challenges, really.
Well, there's always challenges. It's on a daily basis because genuinely nobody can predict the future.
True.
But what the power is, in my opinion, and if I can share this with anybody who's listening, if I can inspire even just one person today, I've done what my Maharaj has asked me to do today. So reality of it is that when we're talking about challenges are there to stretch you, and it's just to try to take you to the next level. You should always, when you go up a step, you have to move each leg in sequence with each other. You have to lift one leg up onto the step and then another one again, and that's principally how the life works. So where is fear? Where is challenge? Challenge is a part of life. It's about it's your daru. You have to turn around and you have to use your medicine of challenge and stretch. Just don't fear it. Just get up and do something about it, because the true failed person is a person who's stopped and forgot to take action in the first place.
True.
That's the reality of life, I would say.
And you were just saying, I hope I've inspired one person. That's me. I can say you definitely have. So know what, it's true. It's made me think that actually there's lots of things that I want to do, but it's about getting up and doing them. So a note to Minreet to make sure you get up and do them. Don't just sit there with the char cup that my dad always makes for us.
But you humble me.
Tell us about what's your most favourite memory?
Well, in modern day, should I say, in current days, because I've had many flows of life, and I think the 20s talk to people in a different way, the 30s and the 40s. But I think the strongest memory that I have, or in current life, should I say, is partly what I spoke about on the TED talk that I did with Maharaj Kirpa early this year in 2017 May. It's about the memory that I had when I was in hospital, and life was, I just woke up and I didn't quite know what happened, where I'd gone. I had a memory of going into hospital with hepatitis A, which is a liver virus. But I'm a non-drinker, so just in case everybody understands, it wasn't through alcohol abuse or something like that. It was basically through, whatever it was. I had hepatitis. It was through some kind of a fish that I ate. But the reality is that just realizing that this is real, that this is life, that it can be over in a split second. Hum aadmi hai ekdami. When that actually really hit home for me is when I started realizing that life, we've got to do something, and then I shared it earlier on with an Unsahib part. It specifically says that ye sarira is jag mein aaya, is jag mein kya kamaya. And please, Kimada Jachaka with any paraphrasing of our Shri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. But the reality is that these are things that have really sunk home in myself and thought, what do I really need to do? And the reality is that the biggest thing that I've ever wanted to achieve now, and I am on journey, I hope with Maharaj Kirpa, is legacy. I'm here to try to create some change in the worlds of others. And so that's been my mission for the last 11 years.
That's amazing.
And we're touching as many lives as we can. I think the last time I checked was nearly 36,000 plus people that we've impacted over the world with Kirpa of Maharaj. So my memory was probably the very first time I opened my eyes and when I came back home, and I realized that life's got to be more than this. It is just a second, and I take a breath and I don't even know whether I'm going to take my next breath or not, or whether my diaphragm's going to push my breath out. So the question always arises that what am I doing? What will I achieve in this world? What differences can I create? So I'm in the world of helping, facilitating, creating some catalyst, because with respect, we all understand this, and it's our Bani again, and I will say, Mera mujh mein kuch nahi, jo kuch hai so tera. And the reality of the purpose of my context there is specifically about creating the vessel, the process, the facility for people to pass, for Maharaj's Bani to pass through, and for us to ignite anybody else to move themselves forward. So that's my memories now. I just absolutely love it when I've helped one person see their potential and unlock them in some way. So this happens quite regularly with my Q&A with Maharaj Gitpas. That's kind of what my memory is. My very first one was realizing that it is possible, how you can help other people.
Yeah, and do you know what, that is amazing. Giving back, the whole selfless seva, giving back to somebody, you know, no words can explain that. It's just an amazing thing to do. So what are the key learnings during your journey?
Key learnings?
And I'm sure there's lots.
There really are. I've already covered 3 of them: learning myself, learning others, and learning to adapt. But on top of that as well, I think the mindset of action, to actually do. You were touching on it a moment ago, procrastination, Min. When you said specifically, you said that sometimes you have the cup of cha and you sit down and then chalo kalnu, hai. My dad's always drilled into our heads, aaj da kaam, aaj karna, you know, kal te nahi chadna. And so the one thing I liked to look at is I've looked at psychology in such a way, this is intrinsic to us all, there's no 2 ways around it, of how could we utilize psychology to empower, to create the change, to help individuals to step themselves further forward in life. And that doesn't mean just on a financial, fiscal basis. I'm talking about emotional, spiritual, understanding that every single one of us human beings has actually been gifted something specific and unique to offer to the world. So the reality is that how do we unlock ourselves to action those things? Well, in the TED Talk I spoke about the 7 steps of DFT, which is a methodology that I'm writing called the Strategist Method, and this is how to synchronize yourself with your own psychology. In other words, it's how to accept your spirituality and your cognitive consciousness as well, as one, like a collective consciousness. How can I move myself further forward in life is what it's really all about. So the reality is that using processes, logical, strategic processes that can be easily translated in life to get myself into a flow of action, getting out of procrastination. So a real gift for what I've learned to share with other people, and a big gift for myself, is how to get myself back into that sort of flow. I mentioned it in the talk where I woke up after post my illness, and I wasn't the same person as I was before, because before it was like there was never a challenge with taking actions, and it just basically became that I was taking a phone call and I was just listening to the phone call. Yep, no problem, I'll get it done. And sometimes I'd drift off. This is after my illness, by the way. And I'd drift off, you know, due to probably exposure of medications and stuff in the conversation. Then I'd actually forget what I was actually talking about. And I'd have to put the phone down and try to remember what they're talking about. So things were changing inside me at the time. And it was Maharaj who actually turned around and woke up within me and brought all of that memory and synchronicity back together. So I'm forever grateful.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you know what is true? There's the whole, you know, reference back to Maharaj. It is so true that it is. Everything is his doing, his hukam, you know, and we're here for that purpose. So I really like that. What made you want to do inspirational talks around the world?
Probably a symbiotic element of the same. So it's about realizing that we all have something that we've got to deliver to this world. And I've always been said in a humble way, and I've never really seen it, that Sukhi, you speak well, so you talk well with people, but you also understand how to explain something simply. So I like to make complexity really simple to use and adapt and function every single day. So that's been a core understanding of myself. I don't like to make things really complicated, and I like to use words that children can understand, because I believe sincerely that if you can explain anything to a child, everybody on the planet will understand.
True.
And so all of my trainings are based on they're not really full of ands and theirs and adverbs and stuff, but no, I'm talking about everything, every concept that I conceptualize, everything that I conceptualize, or any concept that I share, it's shared in a humble, warm way, and then it's also aligned with the individual psychology of the person. So I would sincerely say that every single person out there has something to give this world. We haven't been accidentally born. Everything has a grandeur plan, and I won't say he, because it's just Paramatma. There is no he, she in Wahiguru's Divan. There's just an entity, And if you choose to connect with it, you'll realize that there is something bigger and new within you that possibly you haven't opened. I had a lovely conversation, if I can just give this little story. It sounds a bit repetitive, but it really makes sense if you share it sometimes. I had a lovely conversation with a priest, a good friend of my father's in Peterborough, where I'm born and bred in the UK. And he said, son, and this, I'm just going to shorten the conversation because it was about half an hour, but the point he was saying is, he said, son, some people live, they are born, they live their life, and they do what they've got to do in the world, and they die. And he said, then that's absolutely correct. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's what their journey was. He said, but some people are born, and they feel something within themselves. They feel as though something they've got to deliver to the world, but they never search for it. And he goes, they leave this world, and they move on. And he goes, but there's another type of person who turns around, and some people, they're born. They feel this urge that there's something within themselves, and they go to seek it. They go to find it. But sadly, they don't find it, and they go on, pass on. He said, but there's another type of person who is born and realizes there's something within. They seek it, and they find this gift. But when they find the gift, they don't open it, and they pass on. And he says, please bear with me. He said, there's another person who's born. They realize there's a gift within them. They feel it. They search for it. They find it. And they open the box, but they never activate that gift that they've been given. And they pass on. And he said, there's another person who is born, who looks for it, feels it, looks for it, finds it, takes the box, opens the box, brings out their gift, but doesn't share it with anybody. And they pass on. And he said, there's other people who find themselves, look for it, find it, open the box, they find their gift, they refine their gift, they understand this is Paramatma's hukum, and then they share it with the world. And he said, then they become Amar, and they move on, and that's a true legacy. Yeah. He said, I just leave it to whoever, whichever they want to be, because none of them are wrong. There's a place for everybody in Maharaj Sharan.
That's true. Do you know, I really like the way that you put that. That story is amazing, and I think you could share that on a number of occasions. You would never get bored of hearing it because it's so true. It's just so true. So what kind of feedback have you had from people on the talks that you do? And
it's been a very humble journey. There's testimonials on Sukhi Wahiwala YouTube channel. Please have a look if you have a chance. And they're there. I think I'm not really a good advocate of myself, to be honest, because I don't believe that I'm anything special. You know, I'm just here to help facilitate as much as I can. I'm a facilitator. I'm a catalyst. I'm a catalyst for other people's greatness. If I've been given any gifts in my world, it's only to unlock others. Not to become some kind of an arrogant person and individual in this world.
That's lovely. So how can you inspire someone watching to make a change in their life if they're stuck in a routine? Because a lot of us, we are really, that's what it is. Routine is a big thing.
Well, routine is actually the parameter of success. You see, routine is what keeps a person alive and keeps them focused. Routine's not your negative problem. You see, if we go deeper, because we brush our teeth in the morning, and we usually, I hope anyway, children, I hope you're listening, but when you brush your teeth, you tend to use the same hand, and you tend to brush in the same format. Usually, whichever it's up or down, left or right, you tend to brush in the same format. So there's an unconscious routine there. So the reality is that not to hate routine, but to embrace routine for your value, because routine is the key, is the unlock code. So waking up early, you know, doing things at the prime time for this. I have a training called the Dft Focused Time Management, and it's deeper than time management. It's not just a simple matrix that you can use of time poor, etc., etc. It's actually a deep philosophy. It actually changes the person's brain, and when they've spent one day in that training, they come away with an eye-opening of understanding of their true potential and how they can engage themselves. And what I've been fulfilled with to touch your testimonial conversation is people send me video testimonials themselves, by the way, and I keep them on my phone to keep me inspired and to keep me humble as well. And it makes me realize that actually I'm making a difference, I hope, with Maharaj Kripa. So the question was, how can routine be broken? I say don't break routine. I say go back deeper than routine and understand what is the meaning behind, remember? The understanding, the feeling behind the routine. Because it's not the routine that's causing the aggression or the anxiety or even the frustration. It's the feeling of possibly not living your potential or not being somewhere where you believe that you should be further around in your life. So the reality is to unlock yourself and understand. I call it the DISC, which is D-I-S-C, which is DISC, which is a known factual psychometric, but it's deeper than that because I look for the U, the DISC U. The U is the unlock code in my Strategist method. If you know yourself, you can unlock yourself at any moment. You're always going to have those moments where you're feeling a bit down and up and whatever, but the idea of the game is just to silence your brain and go through a process to bring yourself back into flow. So I have a process called, if you watch the TED Talk, there's a 7-step process. It's very, very simple to follow. It's called the Dft Method. And you literally ask yourself an inquiry question, which is the key. The first thing is, what is my current challenge? What am I actually facing right now? What am I actually having a challenge with? The second point would be then to grab a piece of paper. Always use pen and paper. There's a certain magic with this. And you answer your question, and you fill the page up. You time yourself, and you push through what we call 3 blanks. That means when you've had 2 blanks really, when you've had like a ceiling and I can't think of anything else, you need to push through that twice. As we talk about it in weight training, I used to be a weight trainer when I was younger. I know it's not possible to see there, but when I was younger as weight trainer, it's the 11th and 12th reps that make the difference in your body. The rest are just timing you up. So it's always do right, and then push through 2 blanks in your mind. But how it works is like this, is that you then write your points out, and then you go back to them and you reduce them down to 10 most important answers. Then you reduce it to 5, and you reduce it to 3. So it's a very simple process to follow. After you've got the 3, you select the most important and put it in order 1, 2, and 3. And the reality is that one question that's left, or the one answer that's left for you, I am principally guarantee that that's the thing that underpins all of those challenges that you're facing, or anxieties, or thoughts, or things that are blocking you. If you pop it down in this format, go through the 7 steps, and just action that one, once you've got it in front of you, I guarantee you will be empowered to do something about it. It's because you yourself have got it to that refinement. So that's kind of like what I would suggest looking at.
I've got a few minutes left. I'm very conscious I've got still quite a few questions, but I think I'd like to go on to really, so you use a proven methodology, as you said, called DFT, and you spoke about that as well. But a little bit, I just want to know, I guess, because you spoke about it on the TED Talk global platform.
I did.
For the viewers that are watching, I mean, we will give the details of where they can go, but about this talk, a bit more just, I guess, on that, or what you would like to say so that viewers can then go and have a look at it.
Well, I've just covered parts of it. So in that TED Talk, I've actually shown, and I'm being very honest and open about my personal journey after my illness and my near-death experience. So I would strongly urge you to watch it. It's only 20 minutes of your life, because it just gives you a lovely view of another person who's going through some kind of challenge, hence myself, and then how to get yourself out of it as well. And realizing, I mean, one of the main things I talk about specifically in there is don't multitask, because this is just a killer of your mind. If you're having problems getting things done, it's because you're probably multitasking. And I speak very clearly about it. There's that multitasking itself it basically splits your frontal cortex of your mind, and you get yourself into a situation where you're actually distracted. And the key challenge that everybody faces in this world, what I'm talking about specifically in the TED Talk, which is a global knowledge platform, it's actually about the distractions, how we put our mobile phone on the table when we sit down with our children or our parents, how we walk around glued to it all the time, or even how we've got our websites open and then the emails ping and we stop doing the work we're supposed to be doing, go back onto Facebook, as we all understand. So all of these little elements of distraction is what I talk about in there. How to bring all of that energy back into a positive flow that's really truly going to change your world. But if you're just living for yourself and for your own world, whether it's financial, emotional, whatever, you've got to realize that actually our world, our life, our being, our existence as human beings, in my humble opinion, not in anybody else's opinion, we all have something to unlock within ourselves. We have to give something back. Like yourself, Minreet, you're standing here, you're sitting talking, you're sharing other people's journeys with the Sangat. And that within itself is changing people's world. So we've got to realize that that's what we've got to find within ourselves, how we can help others.
Amazing. But you've got just less than 1 minute left, and I want to give your details because Jedi Study Sangat, I'm sure they'd want to know. They're probably on the computer right now. Where can we go? Please give it your details, your social media details and your website details, and just the link of the TED Talk where they can go.
If anybody would like to get hold of me in any which way, wherever you Google, if you Google the name Sukhi, S-U-K-H-I, Wahiwala, that's WAHIWALA.com. That's my main sort of domain for myself. From there, it spiders out to all my other offerings. But if you Google Sukhi Wahiwala TED, you'll come up with a TED Talk on Google. And if you go into SikhEntrepreneur.com, you'll be able to follow what we're up to. We're in there, we're trying to influence other people to share their journeys and actually become, you know, like if they're doing something different to the world. The ones, I always find that the ones who shout are not possibly the best people ethically, but the ones who are quietly doing it in a Nishkam format. And that's what Jatinder and myself are actually going out of our way to try to expose people who are doing things in a Nimrata sense. And I also am involved with an organization called the Sikh Role Model, which is based in India, of all places. And finally, if I may share,
we're like really cutting into
Instagram. Just get hold of me on Sukhi Wahiwala Instagram as well.
Thank you, Paji. I'm really sorry, but we will get you back on in the future. Definitely. Thank you. It's been a real pleasure to have you on. Sangat ji, hope you enjoyed it. And please, once again, please sanu maaf karyo. And we look forward to you joining us next week on The Breakfast Show. Vaheguru ji ka khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki fateh.